Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Jayādvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Jayādvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Krishna
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajaka Astottara Satasri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nama Charja Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kundigiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Maharaj. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Friday, November 18th in New York, 2022. And we are towards the end of the 9th chapter, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy in the 3rd canto, starting tonight with verse number 42. And looking forward to hearing everyone's questions, comments, and if someone would like to lead tonight's closing kirtan, that would be great. And we're so glad you could be with us, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Akendra Prabhu. Kirtaniya Sada Hari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Aham Atmatmanam Tata Preshtasan Prayasamapi Ato Mai Ratim Kuryad Dehadir Yatkrate Priyaha. I am the super soul of every individual. I am the supreme director and the dearest. People are wrongly attached to the gross and subtle bodies, but they should be attached to me only. Om Jnana Timidantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Miditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Shahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha Shri Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vanchakol Pitarubhyascha Kripa Sindhopye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayādvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before we go on to the purport, let's just look at this, at the word-for-word meanings a little more closely. Aham Atma Atmana. I'm the soul of all the other souls. I'm the super soul. Dhata. I'm the director. Although Brahma is sometimes called Tata. Here, Tata is the personality of Godhead. Preshta. Preshta, the most dear son, Prayasam Api. Of all who are dear, I'm the most dear. Ata, therefore, Mai Ratim Kuryad, one should become attached to me. Dehadi Yatkrite Priya, one should become attached to me on whose account the body is dear. The body and the mind, Deha Adi. Purport. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is the dearest in both the conditioned and liberated states. When a person does not know that the Lord is the only dearmost object, then he is in the conditioned state of life. And when one knows perfectly well that the Lord is the only dearmost object, he is considered to be liberated. There are degrees of knowing one's relationship with the Lord, depending on the degree of realization as to why the Supreme Lord is the dearmost object of every living being. The real reason is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. The living entities are eternally parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. The living entity is called the Atma, and the Lord is called the Paramatma. The living entity is called Brahma, and the Lord is called the Param Brahma, or Parameshvara, Ishvara Parama Krishna. The conditioned souls who do not have self-realization accept the material body as the dearmost. The idea of the dearmost is then spread all over the body, both concentrated and extended. The attachment for one's own body and its extensions, like children and relatives, is actually developed on the basis of the real living entity. As soon as the real living entity is out of the body, even the body of the most dear son is no longer attractive. Therefore, the living spark, or eternal part of the Supreme, is the real basis of affection, and not the body. Because the living entities are also parts of the whole living entity, that Supreme living entity is the factual basis for all. One who has forgotten the basic principle of his love for everything has only flickering love, because he's in Maya. The more one is affected by the principle of Maya, the more he is detached from the basic principle of love. One cannot factually love anything unless he is fully developed in the loving service of the Lord. elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, this point is made that the body is dear to us, or in relation to the body, others are dear to us because of the presence of the soul. When the soul's out of the body, no one cares for the body. No one wants anything to do with it. So the body's dear because the soul is present within the body. And why is the soul dear? Because the soul is part of Krishna. Or looking at it another way, we have an intimate relationship with Krishna, and therefore Krishna's the most dear. Everything depends on Krishna. The soul, which is so dear, the soul of our self or of others, it depends on Krishna. And then the body, if we think that's dear, that depends on the soul, which depends on Krishna, and so on. In the present verse, stress is given to focusing love upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word kuryat is significant here. This means one must have it. It is just to stress that we must have more and more attachment to the principle of love. The influence of Maya is experienced by the part and parcel spiritual entity, but it cannot influence the supersoul, the Paramatma. The Mayavadi philosophers, accepting the influence of Maya on the living entity, want to become one with the Paramatma. But because they have no actual love for Paramatma, they remain ever entrapped by the influence of Maya and are unable to approach the vicinity of Paramatma. This inability is due to their lack of affection for the Paramatma. A rich miner does not know how to utilize his wealth, and therefore, in spite of his being very rich, his miserly behavior keeps him everlastingly a poor man. On the other hand, a person who knows how to utilize wealth can quickly become a rich man, even with a small credit balance. Interestingly, Srila Prabhupada said our problem is a lack of love. We're all love, love, love. But because the love is not directed to Krishna, or because we have an insufficient stock of love for Krishna, therefore we're in problems. We're poor men for lack of love for Krishna. The eyes and the sun are very intimately related, because without sunlight, the eyes are unable to see. But the other parts of the body, being attached to the sun as a source of warmth, take more advantage of the sun than do the eyes. Without possessing affection for the sun, the eyes cannot bear the rays of the sun. Or in other words, such eyes have no capacity to understand the utility of the sun's rays. Similarly, the empiric philosophers, despite their theoretical knowledge of Brahma, cannot utilize the mercy of the Supreme Brahma because they lack affection. So now it turns to the impersonalists. Materialists have a lack of affection, despite although they profess love, they actually are short, deficient, lacking in love for Krishna. And now, so they don't even understand the basis of the supposed love they have, And now the impersonalists also can't understand the Brahma for which they aspire because they don't love Brahma. So many, they don't love the transcendental form of Brahma. So many impersonal philosophers remain everlastingly under the influence of Maya, because although they indulge in theoretical knowledge of Brahma, they do not develop affection for Brahma, nor do they have any scope for development of affection because of their defective method. You can't really love the impersonal Brahma. You don't reach love by neti, 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 neti. Not this, it's not that, it's not this, it's not that. Even you don't love your girlfriend because she's not this and not that and not this, not that. There has to be something positive. So the Mayavadis have theoretical knowledge of Brahma, but they don't have positive knowledge. So there's no love. Maybe Brahma's the greatest. There's some affinity, but not not real love. A devotee of the sun god, even though devoid of eyesight, can see the sun god as he is, even from this planet. Whereas one who is not a devotee of the sun cannot even bear the glaring sunlight. Similarly, by devotional service, even though one is not on the level of a Jnani, one can see the personality of Godhead within himself due to his development of pure love. In all circumstances, one should try to develop love of Godhead, and that will solve all contending problems. So, again, the emphasis here is on pure love for God. Love is superior to knowledge. One may have theoretical knowledge, but one can really know the personality of Godhead only by love. Bhaktya mam abhijanati premanjana shrita bhakti vilochanena. All right, any comments, questions?
Saraswati has something in the chat, Maharaj.
Oh, okay. We're told that Krishna is not only dearmost object here. We're told that Krishna is our only dearmost object here. But I find that all those souls that have made Krishna their dearmost are actually very attractive and dear to us because of the power of their Krishna prema. So become so beholden to them, to those pure devotees, that we cannot separate Krishna from them at all. So is it okay to hold and have those devotees just as dear to us as Krishna, or on an equality, or equally, I guess? Yes, in relation to Krishna. Krishna means Krishna is not alone. Krishna alone is impersonal. The Namo Radhikaye Tadiya Priyaya, in Kartik we were singing. We're offering obeisances to Krishna, to the rope that binds Krishna, to Srimati Radharani, who's dear to Krishna. Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan. What is that? Araja Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanaya Tadhama Vrindavan. As Krishna is worshipable, so his Vrindavan is also worshipable. Keshi Gad Vamsi Vadashaka. Krishna doesn't mean Krishna alone, but with the cows, the cowherd boys, Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mai, the gopis, everything, cows, peacocks, everything related to Krishna is also Krishna. So the devotees who are related to Krishna are also part of Krishna. And when we see them in that way, therefore every living entity, what is that in the Bhagavad Gita? Atma Bhut, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. He's dear to everyone and everyone is dear to him because he sees everyone as part of Krishna. Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani Atmanyeva Anupashyati Sarva Bhuteshu Chatmanam Tato Navijagupshate. This is the effect of love. We say love, but Prabhupada points out, he wrote this in an article in his Indian Back to Godhead, that we're all against the hatred of war, the hatred shown in war, but that hatred is the flip side of love. Because I love my country, I hate your country. Because I love my family, I'm in competition with your family. So the material love becomes the source of material hatred also. But when we speak of universal love, we can't love the universe. Probably you can't even think of the universe, or loving all living entities. You can't even think of all living entities. But if we love Krishna, then we love everyone. Everyone's included. And that's real love. And especially, as you mentioned, those who are intimately connected with Krishna. Every living entity is connected with Krishna, so everyone is worthy of love, but especially those who are connected with Krishna. Even Krishna makes that distinction. Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya, mayi te teshu japya. Everyone's connected to me. I love everyone. But those who are devoted to me are, I'm in them and they're in me. There's an intimate relationship. Murari Gupta Prabhu says, someone not sympathetic to Krishna consciousness may say that it's neither very obvious nor very easy to understand and act on this knowledge, and wonder why there are such elaborate arrangements to cover this essential knowledge. What would be your reply? There seems to be a catch-22 situation. We should love Krishna, but unless we love him, we can understand very little about him to bring out that love. Neither very obvious nor easy to understand. Why such elaborate arrangements to cover this knowledge? Those are our arrangements. We don't want to know. It's actually obvious to those who are pure-hearted. It's natural, it's obvious. Those who are in the mode of goodness, the purest of the modes, are naturally inclined toward God consciousness. And those who are in passion and ignorance, they make elaborate arrangements. Stock derivatives and great enterprises, great industries, great entertainment centers, theme parks, scientific enterprises, philosophical treatises, PhD dissertations, encyclopedias, apps, social media platforms. The source of all this elaborate stuff is not the direct arrangement of God, but these are our arrangements, spurred on by the mode of passion, augmented by the mode of ignorance. And in ignorance, there's no elaborate arrangement, there's just dullness. The dullard, what will he understand? He's dull. And those who are in passion are covering the truth with their own busy enterprises. Those who are in the mode of goodness are naturally, for them, they look at the sky, they look at the water, they look at the forests and the trees, and they naturally think there must be some higher truth, which is the source of all of these things. They naturally have a sense that there's some, yes, higher truth with which I'm connected. And if they hear, and there are scriptures all over the world that tell them this higher truth is God, and a fortunate person may therefore be inclined toward God consciousness. And if he comes in touch with a pure devotee of God, the personality of Godhead, he can develop love for God. As Prabhupada said, what is the difficulty? One can't understand God without love, and one can't love God without understanding it. It seems like a catch-22 situation. But it's not contradictory. A little more love, a little more knowledge, a little more love, a little more knowledge. It's like you can't eat unless you get better, and you can't get better unless you eat. So you eat a little bit, you get some strength, you get a little more strength, you eat a little more. Our Prabhin, he's become the example the last couple of days. He was sick for a few days, severe dehydration. He couldn't eat. And then he started eating a little, then he got some strength, he could eat more. So we don't say it's a contradiction that unless you have strength, you can't eat. Unless you eat, you can't have strength. Now you a little, and then soon you're in good health again. Hope that's all right. Kendra, BTG, October 1944. The frenzy of hatred is another side of the frenzy of love. The frenzy of love of Hitler's own countrymen has produced the concomitant frenzy of hatred for others. And the present war is the result of such dual side of a frenzy called love and hatred. The whole creation of the material world is more or less based on this principle of love and hatred. So when we wish to get rid of the frenzy of hate, we must be prepared to get out of the frenzy of so-called love. Yes. Thank you for that, Kendra Prabhu. Anything else? Yes, Kendra Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I was thinking, one thing I've heard fairly often from Ravinder Swarup Prabhu is that the desire for self-preservation is love of God several times removed,
Yeah.
which seems to be the current of this purport.
Yes. the instinct for self-preservation, or the desire for self-preservation, his love of God had several times removed. Nice.
I also this is, I suppose it's a question. We're now reading the Lord's statements to Lord Brahma, and we hear a similar passage in 2nd Canto, 9th chapter, where the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam resides. And because this event of Brahma creating the world and so many Brahmas creating so many worlds happens so frequently, I suppose it's not astonishing to find parallel conversations in different parts of the Bhagavatam, since these conversations, these pep talks between the Lord and Brahma must go on with considerable frequency, considering the sheer numbers of universes that there are.
Yeah, we're just focusing on one conversation here, but I hadn't thought of that. This must go on so often and so many, considering how many universes there are, how many Brahmas are there to have to encourage. Our Prabhupada started ISKCON, and then he had, 12 or 14 GBC men that he had to encourage, and 30 or 80 or 100 temple presidents that needed to be encouraged. So when you're in charge of a big institution, there's a lot of people to encourage. And then just consider the personality of Godhead. He has so many Brahmas. Yes, thank you. Saraswati says, sometimes a devotee faces such reversals in life that they feel their love for Krishna was unrequited, and the reversal specifically alienated them from Krishna. How do I understand and avoid feeling this situation? Well, this is the neophyte. The neophyte expects that God will meet his expectations. I probably gave the example of the people who were praying in the war, may my husband return, may my son return, may my father return. And then when the father or son or husband didn't return, the women became atheistic. If there's God, why did my father die? Why did my husband die? That means third-class devotee. Third-class devotee is short on knowledge and short on faith. Short on knowledge and short on faith. And a second-class devotee has more scriptural knowledge and therefore more faith also. So, how to understand and avoid. So we shouldn't stay on the third-class platform. On the third-class platform, one's faith is soft, or what's the word? Not stable. So it can collapse. But on the second-class platform, one remains staunch. Okay, anything else? Let us move ahead. Sarva Veda Mayenedam Atmanatmatma Yonina Prajasrajayata Purvam Yascha Mayanushedate. By following my instructions, you can now generate the living entities as before. By dint of your complete Vedic wisdom and the body you have directly received from me, the supreme cause of everything. Sarva Veda Mayenedam. Veda Maya, being full in Vedic knowledge. Idam, Atmana Atma, Atma Yonina. You're directly born of me, you have a body given by me. So Praja Sraja Yata Purvam. You can create the living entities Yata Purvam, as before. And Yacha Mai Anusayate. Okay. Anything further here?
Oh, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Kendra Das here. I was just thinking, I don't know if you had the occasion to look at the Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport to the last verse, but he really has quite an extensive amount to say, and a lot of it Prabhupada covers, and there are some things in there, in case you might want to look at it there, that are quite interesting.
I did read it. It's been a little bit of time since, but why don't you pick out what you think would be of additional interest?
Let's see. He does his usual presentation of the conversation as like a subtext. The Lord is speaking, and he says, "I alone should also be dearest to all jivas." And then he says, "Because I'm the soul of all the jivas, for this reason, body and family become dear to a person. Affection for wife and sons is based on the body. Affection for one's own body is based on the jiva." It's very similar to what Prabhupada says. Affection for the jiva is based on the Paramatma, and affection for the Paramatma is natural. And then he says, the affection for the jiva and the preceding items is figurative only, and the affection for each item is successively less.
What does that mean? The affection for the jiva and the preceding items is figurative only.
Well, he's talking about the affection for things that are based on the body, going at a remove back from Paramatma, which is natural. And then all those other things is figurative only, like they're more and more covered, is the way I understand it.
Yeah, like what Rabindra's Prabhu said, that it's love of God at several times removed. Every step we take away, we go from the Lord to the soul, super soul to the soul to the body to the those related to the body, then those unrelated to the body. The farther away we get from the super soul, the farther away we are from actual love.
Yeah, the image that comes to my mind is like making a photocopy of some original, clear, crisp document. And then the more you copy the copy and you copy the copy of the copy, it just becomes a blob and you don't know what it is anymore.
Yeah. Even if you think in terms of family, we love our immediate family, then you're my cousin. Is that on my mother's side, my father's side? Who are you? Who's, when the further away it gets, the less affection there is automatically, at least. There's a sort of automatic affection for the immediate family members. When the more distant they become, the more it's like, how am I related to you exactly? So the farther we get away from Krishna, the less natural. That Prabhupada dealt with that also. The affection for the super soul is natural because we're part of Krishna. So we have natural affection for Krishna. It's not something foreign. Anything else here?
No, thank you so much for that. I'm sorry to backpedal the discussion.
Backpedaling is fine. Krishna, Krishna. And there's another comment he makes, even for the jiva. He makes the point that affection for the Paramatma is natural, and affection for material things, affection for Maya, is superimposed. It's not natural. It's based on falsity, whereas the affection for Krishna is natural affection. Though natural affection for Paramatma exists, because of lack of experience of Paramatma, the jiva does not have affection for him. Like a person who has wealth and doesn't know it. We have a natural affectionate relationship with Krishna, but we've forgotten. And so we've developed an unnatural, artificial affection for material things. We've got to fill in the gaps somehow. But here, Krishna says you should develop your rati, your attachment, your affection to me. Then in this next verse, the one that we backpedaled from, the Yata Purvam Yascha Mai Anushevite. The Vishwanath comments that Cha here indicates bhakti. And this means that creating would be easy, since it would involve simply manifesting the various bodies. It's already done by Krishna, and it's going to be easy for Brahma once Brahma is situated perfectly in bhakti. Maitreya Vacha Tasmaevam Jagat Shastre Pradhana Purusheshwaraha Yajyedam Svena Rupena Kanjanapas Tirodate. The sage Maitreya said, after instructing Brahma, the creator of the universe, to expand, the primeval Lord, the personality of Godhead, in his personal form as Narayan, disappeared. Purport. Before his activity in creating the universe, Brahma saw the Lord. That is the explanation of the Chaturshloki Gita, Bhagavatam in second canto. When the creation awaited Brahma's activity, Brahma saw the Lord, and therefore the Lord existed in his personal form before the creation. His eternal form is not created by the attempt of Brahma, as imagined by less intelligent men. The personality of Godhead appeared as he is before Brahma, and he disappeared from him in the same form, which is not materially tinged. The Mayavadis think that the conception of the personality of Godhead is a product of the material world or the material energy. Either the Lord's form is a product of material goodness or material ignorance, or in the sort of modern interpretation, the notion of a form is something that arises from human invention. The Lord, the personality of Godhead is an anthropomorphic projection. But here, the personality of Godhead is existing before the material energy is set in motion. So he can't be a product of the material energy. Sa aikshata, he glances over material nature, and material nature is set in action. So how can he be a product of the actions of material nature? Even if we say, well, no, that's just your Puranic mythology, still the same principle holds that if there's an origin of everything, that origin can't be a product of any material source. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. The real philosophy begins when we inquire about the source of everything, Janmadhyasya. So we may not know what that source is, but that we should inquire after. And if we inquire, yes, that's the sort of the first step, that it's not that everything is just a product of matter. You have to ask, where did matter come from? Where did matter get the capability to produce what it produces? So we have to come to a source, and that source should be avidya and swarat. The source has to be dependent, otherwise it's not the source. If the source is dependent on something else, then that something else becomes the source. Then we have to go there. So the absolute should be independent and cognizant, because creating things requires intelligence. Order requires intelligence. So we have to come to the ultimately supremely independent and supremely intelligent being. And where do we find intelligence without personality? We don't find just abstract intelligence, a demi, or, there's got to be a personal desire to create. There has to be personal will and personal skill. So either matter has to be the source of everything, or spirit. But matter is not well qualified to be the source of everything. Matter doesn't do anything automatically. So then we come to spirit. And spirit ultimately is person. Okay. And thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. Good. Anything more here? Prabhin says, Na bharati menga mashopalakshate navai kuchin me manaso mashagati me rishi kani patantya satpate yan mar hridot kantya pata drito harihi. O Narada, because I have caught hold of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, with great zeal, whatever I say has never proved to have been false, nor is the progress of my mind ever deterred, nor are my senses ever degraded by temporary attachment to matter. Nice. In what context did you have that in mind? No, just offering that. Okay. Thank you. Yes, this is the same. This is Narada. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Kirtan? We have Radhesha who's almost ready.
We were thinking about the audiobooks we heard as kids, and somehow the tune Prahlad sings to his demon friends kept popping in my head last night, so that's what's on my mind.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare
Prabhupada Paramaham Sukari Prad Acharya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Go Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navdeep Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Go Premanande. Hari Bol. Thank you all very much. Special thanks to Meena and Haridas. And we'll look forward to seeing you again on Monday or Tuesday, depending which part of the world you're in. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for being with us. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jayādvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur-
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Shraddha.
Jai Gurudev, all glories.
Hare Krishna. Krishna Kanteya.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Kamalaki. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Hare Krishna.